Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us on this very special occasion as we're worshiping at home. Hopefully, you're gathered with some people that you know and love and are settling in to enjoy this time together. And hopefully, God's going to show up in a powerful way as we walk through this together. I want to welcome a panel that I have here of some friends. So this is Dennis and Anna and Scott and Diane. And we're going to kind of explore a subject today that I think hopefully will be really helpful for you. We're worshiping at home today because we believe in community, and we believe that there's powerful things that can happen when we gather in living rooms and not just in big churches. And so we're gathering in living rooms today. It's also a chance for our incredible volunteers and our incredible staff who have just worked really hard for a whole year and at Christmas at the Warner to take a deep breath. And part of this idea of deep breath is something that we just really want to talk to you about, and really are basing this whole conversation today around the idea of what does it look like in our life to live in a rhythm where we can take deep breaths on a regular basis. And it's actually not just kind of a good idea. It's an idea that Jesus demonstrated to us by the way that he lived his life. And so we're going to explore that concept today together. And I'm going to share some thoughts with you at first, and then these guys are going to weigh in with some real life examples, and hopefully you really benefit from our time together today. So one of the thoughts that has plagued me for a while is just this idea of what's wrong with Christianity. And there's all kind of things that could be wrong with it. Is Christianity, is it too political? Has it gotten too political? Or is it too many hypocrites? Or all about power or pornography or whatever it may be? What's wrong with Christianity? Well, Dallas Willard, one of my favorite thinkers of all time, he said, the thing that's wrong with Christianity is hurry. That hurry is one of the key reasons that we're not like Jesus. Now, there's a recent author named John Mark Comer who said that he wrote a book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And I'd encourage you to get it. You can find the link at the website here that you're watching on. But some of these remarks today are kind of based on his thinking. But a lot of us try to live a life for God, especially if we're Christians. We get caught in this thing where we're living this life for God. But we stop at some point living our life with God. And so what I want to explore today is just what does it mean to really follow Jesus? What does it mean to follow Jesus? And part of understanding that is to get at the root of this word disciple that's used in the New Testament. And the word disciple means apprentice. Now there's something there. And so I want us to think today about what if we built our Christian life around the practices of Jesus and not just the ideas of Jesus. And so we actually, when you look at the life of Jesus, you can see Jesus living his life in rhythm. And the rhythm that Jesus lived in was intense work. Like he was a hard-working man. But then you see these seasons of retreat and this idea of a deep breath. And Comer, the author that I mentioned earlier, he said, that he talks about the secret of the easy yoke. And in Matthew 11, there's this passage of scripture where Jesus says these words. It's a beautiful invitation. He says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." And then he says, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke," listen, "my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Now, this is a beautiful invitation, but it's an invitation to us to adopt the lifestyle of Jesus. So often we read the scriptures and we begin to focus in on the teachings of Jesus, which is very important. But Jesus showed us more than just his teachings. He showed us a way of life. And so if you want to experience the life of Jesus, you have to adopt the lifestyle of Jesus. Now, let me just illustrate that for a moment. There's this person I follow on social media, a guy that I look up to. He's super fit. And I look at these posts on social media and I say, I want that. I want what he has. I want to look good again in a tank top, all right? And so I watch his social media posts, okay? But here's the thing. I found myself one night looking at his social media post going, I want that. I want to be fit like that, while I was watching Monday Night Football and eating pretzels, okay? And so I'm watching him do this live video on social media while he's drinking kale and a celery smoothie or whatever he's drinking. And he's tucking himself into bed at 9 o'clock. And I'm, watching Monday Night Football into the wee hours. I wake up in the morning listening to podcasts. He's out running 6 miles. My point is this. I want the life, but I'm not willing to adopt the lifestyle. And so the way of Jesus, when we think about it, it's not just a set of ideas, it's a way of life. And if we want the Jesus way of life, we have to adopt the lifestyle of Jesus. And so the secret of the easy yoke, coming back to this passage that I shared with you, a yoke, if you know anything about kind of farm animals, a yoke is a work instrument. It's not a rest instrument. And so we might say, we say people are exhausted, and if somebody's exhausted, here's what they need. They need a bed or they need a vacation. The last thing they need is a yoke. But here's what a yoke does. Even though it's a work instrument, a yoke connects us to Jesus. It's a thing that would go over two animals and it would connect them together as they were moving through a field. And so when Jesus says, put my yoke upon you, he's just saying, we're in this together. We're going to plow through this together. And it just means that where he goes, I go. And what he does, I do. Which means, and here's the trick, it means the most restful gift that Jesus can give us is a new way to carry our lives with him. It's a fresh way that we walk through this life and bear the responsibilities of life. And listen, that Jesus used a yoke, he's admitting that life is a burden to bear. He's not glossing over anything. He's saying, no, there is a spiritual and relational and emotional and physical weight that we carry through this life. Life is hard. And when most people come to that reality, what the world offers us is escape. It offers us substances. It offers us Netflix. It offers us phones. Jesus says, I have a better way to do life. So come and copy the details of my life. Pattern your life on me. Practice these sacred rhythms that I'm showing you. And then the yoke is light, because the person that you're becoming as you do life with Jesus, as you're yoked together with Jesus, the person that you're becoming will handle things better. And so the question becomes, how do we do our lives with Jesus? And that's the question that I want to throw out to the panel. And I want to get super practical with this panel about how are we able to build these deep breaths into our lives and try to walk with Jesus and pattern our lives after the way of Jesus. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Okay, so one of the things that we want to talk about is as we think about living life in rhythm and taking these deep breaths, I think kind of getting at what are the warning signs that the rhythm is off? In other words, we can be going through life and all of a sudden you're like, wait, I'm in trouble. I need to wave a flag here. So let's start there at the negative. It'll get more positive from here, I promise. But at the negative, so what are some of the signs that your rhythm is off?
I think for me, it was a habit, right? It was first realizing like, okay, I have this habit, right? So I struggled with pornography for a really long time. And it was recognizing that, why do I go here? Mm-hmm. Right? And then it was the idea, well, I'm escaping. And then it was just like, why am I escaping? Well, it's because I'm irritable. Why am I irritable? At the end of it, it came down to control, right? My kids aren't listening to me. I'm not getting I have these certain expectations that aren't being met. And so for whatever reason, right, that was my go-to. And so it was literally just this moment of, boy, there are a whole lot of warning signs before you get to the actual habit. And it was going through that process of recognizing like irritability is really, in essence, I'm just not in control. And that drove me bonkers.
Yeah.
Just drove me bonkers.
Yeah, that's good. So yeah.
Frustration for me. I mean, I get really frustrated and, the anger comes out in me and I'll take it out when it's irrational. And quite frankly, I isolate too. I mean, it kind of just peel off. It could be a benefit, but it truly isn't. I'll start cleaning stuff and putting stuff away and sorting. And in my mind, I think it's a good thing. But I have to almost have an internal dialogue that says, "Whoa, let's back up a little bit here."
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think for me, if I catch that my daydreams throughout the day aren't kingdom oriented anymore,
interesting.
That's when I know I'm taking my eyes off of Jesus.
Yeah, interesting. So yeah, I think catching those early is a thing before they get to the behaviors that are destructive,
right.
Pornography, whatever.
Yeah.
That warning sign gets our attention early, I think, is an important thing. And to recognize that the solution isn't necessarily behavior modification. It's not gritting our teeth.
Right.
It's proper rhythm.
Yeah.
It's leaning back into Jesus. It's taking that deep breath and going, okay, I need to step into him. So that's great. That's a good first one.
Yeah.
So as we get into the actual rhythm part of this, I think one of the things that plagues churches sometimes is that people perceive that we just are asking people to add things to their life. So take your already busy life, and we want you to add finding your chair every day, and we want you to add serving in a ministry, and we want you to add getting in a life group. We want you to add. And people are like, I'm already crazy. I just can't add these things. And what we don't do sometimes is prophetically talk enough about subtracting things from our life, because that's the right stuff. That's the right spiritual stuff. But because we filled our lives with so much other stuff and haven't subtracted anything, we can't add the good stuff in.
Yeah.
And so any tips or cues or keys on things you've learned about subtracting?
I used to be a math teacher, and so for me, time is finite. There's 24 hours. And if I want to add something, I just have to know and accept that I have to take something off. I have to subtract it. I tend to want it all. I tend to want to only add, and not count the cost. So say I want to have friends over for dinner. I forget that I need to count the time that's going to take to shop and to prep and to clean up, and I end up underestimating how much time it's going to take. And often, like, exercise is the first thing to go. Well, time with God is often the first thing to go. So it's having a better sense, overestimating how long things are going to take, and being willing to count the cost of what I'm wanting to add in. And when I subtract, if I'm adding in kingdom concepts, kingdom things in my life, understanding that I really am adding to my life and to the impact of the kingdom. And the things that I'm taking off aren't life-giving. Yeah. I really need to evaluate what I want to add, and if it's life-giving, what I'm going to subtract, and it's not giving me life anyway.
Yeah, that's good.
Diane, that's like so there's a quote that I have on my current prayer journal that says, in order to do kingdom work, you have to operate on kingdom principles. And that idea of subtraction, right, of giving yourself time and space for solitude or getting away or silence. We live in a world where we're chasing after this and we're trying to raise our career and that sort of thing. And that's where I found myself in. And you start connecting the dots from the whole escape, irritability kind of thing. And it came to a point where God was, you could tell he was, this was before I took the position here at Grace. And it was just like, I'm going to create this unsettled feeling in you. And it took a lot of time to realize that you're asking me to let go of a lot of things that I have chased after. Mm-hmm. Not that he has, said, hey, but I was chasing after it. And he started asking questions. I started, is God really in this? Did I really draw you to this? And the moment that subtraction started, like, I'm going to step off this board. I had applied for a national position on like a national board level, and I'm in the DR, and I get this like really amazing awareness of, you have to choose between this or this that I've called you to, and continuing with the DR. And I remember writing the email, and I'm just like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I sent it to the president of the organization, and I hit send, and I'm like, oh gosh, what did I ruined my career. I ruined my career because this was something that I had been pursuing. Right. And he responds in 5 minutes and says, that's a fantastic thing. Wow. I wish more people were able to recognize that. I wish you nothing but the best. Mm-hmm. And that was like the catapult to like, oh my gosh, there's power in subtraction. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's power in subtraction. So yeah, that was a crazy lesson.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so part of this deep breath thing is I want to talk about technology, right? So the latest data, and this is crazy, but it says that on average, people are on social media for 2 hours a day. People have total screen time of 4 hours a day. And what it does is that so everybody has the illusion of being too busy, right? We're too busy for everything. But there's this new reality that some people haven't even accounted for. And so part of it's making time to do the right stuff and taking a break, clearing out the time wasting stuff. And so here's the crazy thing about technology that I read recently is that it gives us the illusion of divinity, right? So smartphones, with smartphones, it basically says we don't have limits, that we can do anything that we want. somebody called the smartphone the human experiment of omnipresence. We can be everywhere. We can know everything that's happening in the world. The problem with it is we do have limits. So yes, we were created in the image of God, which speaks to our potential. So when you look at that creation moment, we were created in his image. We have potential, but we are also created from dust, which reminds us that we also have limitations. And so these devices give us this kind of divinity feeling that we probably need to rein back in. So can we talk about technology for a little bit, and maybe turn to the youngest member of our panel and give us some thoughts on taking breaks from technology?
Yeah, this is something that I'm still working really hard on.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that the screen time is only 4 hours a day, because I think I just read a statistic that teenagers are spending 7 to 8 hours a day in front of a screen. That does not include school time at all. And one thing that one of my professors in college encouraged us to do was to cut out TV from our lives entirely. And he said, list the 3 most interesting people you know, and then tell me how much TV time you think they have in a week. And all of us were like, they probably don't watch TV at all. And so from that point, I took his challenge and have cut a lot of TV out of my life. There's no shows that I follow regularly, really. And that has given me so much time back in my life. And I think it's like a secret for me and my husband to a good marriage is to just hang out every night and not to watch TV together. But when it comes to my phone, that's a little bit harder. And I think for me, what I find is I just have to delete apps until I am ready to start using them with irregularity again. And I think being intentional about like putting yourself into book clubs to make sure that you're spending time to read, and like scheduling time with your friends and family and neighbors in order to make sure that you're just not wasting away your day on your phone. But this is something that I'm really working at right now.
That's good. That's good.
Well, and Anna mentioned professor, but I go old technology to new technology. Professors, and in college I was hooked on pinball machines. We had them on campus, and I fed the quarters in that thing, and I would miss classes. And there were elements where I just found what addiction was, and I thought, this isn't an addiction, but it was.
Wow.
Because it consumed me. And so I had to be very cognizant of that. I had to officially just kind of separate, because everything else going by the wayside. But so what does that mean now? I love things that are visual and things that are interactive. And so the smartphone has given me games to play. And some of them are very good at introducing new ways to keep you engaged in different levels. And I found myself really taking any available time and investing in those games and not spending money on it. I refuse to do that. But idle time. And then I thought, my gosh, wait a minute. How much time am I investing in my private time with the Lord? Reading or praying, in balance to how much time am I investing that I'm not getting anything back except, I'm hitting a new level, the excitement of that. But and so I said, I got rid of some of the games. I think I need to have those, but I don't do social media. I've chosen not to get involved with that, but I can get sucked in really easy with some of the new technology too.
And here I thought he was just like ghosting me from wanting to be on Instagram or Facebook. You just don't have one altogether.
No.
I feel so much better about myself right now.
Dennis the ghost.
Nice.
One of the things that's helped me is to be more intentional. So I took the social media apps off my phone. I look at Facebook, I look at Instagram, I look at Twitter, all those, but I have to log back in. I have to pull up the app and I have to go to the trouble. If I have to go to that much trouble, I have to really think, do I have time? Is it a good choice? It allows me to be more intentional.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So building in those pauses to make you think before you actually do it.
Yes.
I mentioned the other week, unplugging the TV. So that anytime you have to watch it, you have to just go through the little bother of plugging it in, probably resetting some channels, and it causes you to count the cost.
That's
Like,
so
is this
true.
really worth it or not?
That's so true.
It's good.
Something that someone once told me was, if you want to lead a meaningful life, you have to tell a lot of little meaningful stories with your life. And like, I can't ever say after spending 40 minutes on Instagram, like, I'm so glad I did that. That was so mean.
That's right.
And so I think that's been a challenge for myself, is to see what kind of stories am I telling with my life. Are they meaningful or not? And if they're not, then how can I subtract those meaningless things out of my life and add meaningful things?
Excellent.
That's cool.
So there's an old saying that says, don't go to the grocery when you're hungry, because you won't make good decisions. You won't make good choices. And so I find myself similarly doing that with technology or TV, that when I'm tired, when I'm lonely, that there's an acronym, HALT: hungry, angry, lonely, tired.
Yeah.
If you're any of those, you're less likely to make a good decision. And so just making it harder to make that decision kind of about technology reminds me of that.
Really good.
Reminds me of Dave Ramsey. You know, he talks about every dollar and telling your money what it's going to do. I want to tell my time what it's going to do.
Excellent.
That's great.
Well, there's no difference in technology than the rest of our lives either. I mean, kind of a mantra, in all things give glory to God. And so what I'm looking at, does that amplify a relationship with the Lord? It are the things that, the time that's invested in this. I'm going right back to the games, but you know, I don't think it's bad to do a game, but to invest hours on end. Really, give yourself the freedom to have a little bit of downtime, but how can I spend time in that thing to where it's actually bringing Him glory? It can do it in technology too, obviously.
Good. That's great. All right, here's the last thing I want to throw out to you guys. So part of this rhythm thing that I think we have to explore is just, what does it look like to slow down? What does it look like to live your life in rhythm? And part of that is Jesus showed work hard and then slow down, retreat. And so we'll talk about the discipline of slowing. And today, I like to say, we have to work hard to rest, because it just doesn't come naturally in our very fast-paced society. And so when we see Jesus doing this, He shows us what it looks like to make time to do life with God. And it's a lot of S words, actually. It's things like slowing and silence and solitude and simplicity and surrender and Sabbath and servanthood and social engagement, those kind of things. So let's just talk about what it, and get super practical about what does it look like to slow down on a regular basis. Anybody?
I'm really practical. I really allow my calendar to tell me what we're going to do. And so I plot it out on a day, on a week, on a month, on a year. And so just if it's in there, I'm pointed to, like, so my calendar every Saturday says Sabbath. And so if I'm tempted to put something in work, I really try to fit it in other days. And so I just really want Saturday to be a day that's not work related, that's family related, that's related to a long leisurely time with the Lord, not, you know, a set amount of time kind of thing. So I like to structure it. I don't trust myself to organically see that rhythm and be drawn to it and things like that.
Put it in the calendar.
Yes, let it tell me.
It's good. That's smart. What else? Slowing. What makes slowing hard?
Yeah, I think that for me and a lot of my generation, we just don't even know what to do. What does solitude look like? What does Sabbath look like? What does silence look like? Can I listen to music when I'm being silent? We just don't have a lot of practice, I guess. We've never really been forced to do some of these things, and I think there's just a lot of I don't know what to do here.
Yeah, that's good. So I think and we all kind of know, at least for those who know me, I'm a social butterfly. I love to be in people's. I was always massively afraid of being alone because I didn't like who I was when I was by myself. And I came to when I came on staff and you know it's very strongly encouraged to take a half-day retreat once a month, and I was just like, what the heck am I gonna do with that? Here's the thing, because I want structure, I want to put it, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna go into this. I'm gonna get away. I found a spot out in West County somewhere on one of the bluffs, and I literally sit on a bench, and for the first hour, I'll watch the waves, I'll listen to worship music, And then after that, I have a prayer journal with me, and I've got my Bible. And what I'll do is I'll walk. And I have no idea where I'm walking. I just walk the grounds. And it's just an opportunity to slow down and let God just speak to you, right? He's asking, being so tangible step, right? Find a spot, go to that spot, ask God to show up in something big way or some small way, and just be open and receptive to it. And give yourself time. Like, it's a 4-hour chunk of time. That's a long time for me to be alone by myself. I love it. There has been so many cool moments that have come of it. You know, there are awesome journal awakenings that have happened. And so I can't encourage your generation or any of us to not attempt that. It doesn't have to have a ton of structure to it. Just try it.
Well, and you're talking generations too, but you know, quite frankly, when you get my age, some people will say when you retire, how did you ever work? Because you end up picking up the things that you always said you wanted to do. And so, you know, even at my age, you've got to be intentional about that. And once again, I want to go back to all things give glory to God. And so using a little technology to do that, you know, I've got prompts through the day at specific times where I know that I can get busy, but I've got the opportunity to slow down a little bit and it'll pop up and it's just a scripture, you know, and I get a chance to read it, ruminate on it, back off, and I pause. I'll pray or think if there's someone that speaks to me that I want to reach out to, but you know, even small breaks are important, just to break the cycle of all the things that we get so busy. Grandkids help with that too. Nothing wrong with that.
That's true.
Yeah, that's great. So, hey guys, I just want to thank you so much for joining us for this this Sunday, this unique worship experience. I hope that you took some things away from our time together, and that you can go off today. There on the website, it's whoisgrace.com/worship-at-home. You can find all kinds of resources there for you individually, for your family, for kids. There's recipes for your group to get together if you're going to do a little dinner tonight or something like that with your group. There's some books there listed, some of which that I referenced in my talk earlier. And so love you to really, as you head into this new year, 2020, to make it a commitment of yours that you're going to live in the rhythms of Jesus as you walk in this lifestyle that he laid out for us. So God bless you guys. We'll see you in the new year.